one of, if not my current favorite, vetiver fragrance. Let's talk about it.
Here's some codes to save you some cash on your next Middle Eastern niche or designer fragrances.
What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. Today we're going to be talking about very simply one of my, if not my current obsession, and it revolves around the note of vetiver. So Vetiver Gris is by the brand of Jacques Fath, who, rest in peace, I believe, has passed away, and this brand was to basically pay tributes. The perfumer for this fragrance I met in Italy when I was out in Milan. His name is Jean-Christophe Herold. Okay, that's exactly how he pronounced his name. I'm not French, but that's how he said it, so that's how I'm gonna say it. But anyways, so very nice guy. He's actually the same gentleman that perfumed the once crowned king, Creed Aventus. Arguably still the king, but the new batches is just basically water. Yes, it has been reformulated. It's no longer the king that it once was. Some regulations, etc. Long story short, they watered it down because of certain ingredients, harmful effects, etc. And because of that, it no longer performs like it used to. It used to once upon a time be beastly stuff, but now I spray it on about 15 times and like 3 hours later, it doesn't really smell the same. That's besides the point. The man who perfumed that has also perfumed this, along with a couple of other fragrances from this whole lineup. For me personally, I only came across this brand when I first went to Milan, Italy. So Vetiver Gris is one of his creations and one of my favorite from the entire lineup, along with a few others that I sniffed and plan on picking up. You can purchase this from Macy's, believe it or not. And at the time of making this video, and more than likely it's not going to be on sale anymore, it's around $130 with a 15% off during the Macy's sale. This was released in 2022 with notes of bitter orange, hazelnut, and mandarin orange at the top. And that's going to be the most unique factor with this fragrance right here, is that hazelnut that's introduced right at the top. A lot of vetiver based fragrances do those citruses and those woods and maybe some ambergris and ambroxan, but generally speaking they're fresher without having any kind of nutty or gourmand aspect. In the mid there's galbanum, neroli, and geranium, and in the base there's vetiver, more vetiver, and also this chemical component called sinfonite, along with some of that iris. So a few of my favorite notes in here. Vetiver has not always been my favorite note, but more recently I've been growing to appreciate vetiver based fragrances because I've been really pinpointing which combinations I like and diving headfirst into those exact combinations. This has to be one of the ones that initially there was something about it that attracted me to it, and once I started wearing it I felt absolutely in love. Right off the top, I'm going to say that this opens up relatively similar to a lot of vetiver and citrus based fragrances, but there is something extremely unique to this one, and a lot of you guys that do decide to pick it up or sample it are going to notice that difference. This is going to have you stand out, man. Plain and simple. You're not going to smell like anybody else, and it's going to be unlike anything in your collection. I've got over 3,000 fragrances along with the cheapies, niche, designer, etc., and this stands out very clearly from the rest. The first thing I want to mention is that there is a slight hue or accord of something that for me personally takes it slightly gourmand. This is not a gourmand fragrance by any means, but only the use of that combination of the hazelnut, some of those watery qualities along with those woods. It resembles, to me personally, shira, which is basically simple syrup. The reason it reminds me of that is because generally speaking for us in the Middle East, or at least in my country, whenever we make certain desserts with that simple syrup, it's used in combination with tree nuts or tree type spices like cardamom. This does have or gives me that simple syrup vibe for me personally. It's like the bottom ends of the baklava or the baglawa for me. Not everybody's gonna pick that up, and I feel like a lot of people in the West, it's gonna completely go over their heads, not because of the fact that they wouldn't know, but it's really comes down to experience. Now that we're past the whole gourmand-esque or aspect or vibe, by no means, like I said, I'm gonna say it again, by no means is this a gourmand fragrance, but it just reminds me of that whole shira or simple syrup essentially. Now let's put the hazelnut accord aside. The entirety of the fragrance is definitely going to be something that's citrus and vetiver dominant. It's more than just vetiver. There's a very strong and slightly pungency, an earthy pungency, along with a green top. So it's got this green top with a very nice and dense, earthy, wet earthy base to it. This is a very rich fragrance. So the galbanum that's in the mid here is a specifically galbanum resinoid, so it's very thick and concentrated in the galbanum, which really just makes this a bit earthier and much more rooty. Concentrated galbanum, that is. And a lot of vetiver. A vetiver-centric fragrance that really starts off bright and citric, slightly juicy, and then it has that contrasting hazelnut, which does contribute a little bit of sweetness. There are some astringencies in this fragrance, which basically means slight bitterness, but it is counteracted and balanced out nicely, I think, with some of that hazelnut. Something that's really going to stand you aside from the crowd, you guys, Vetiver Gris. It's pretty strong in terms of the projection. I sprayed this one about 8 times. I personally love spraying on my fragrances a lot, and I could smell myself easily for 4 hours. I got a total longevity about 8 to 10 hours. I would say 9 hours hour mark, I started to kind of just get some of those woods. But aside from the fact, this is still phenomenal at the price point, the niche aspect of it, the quality, the scent pro. I honestly, I'm pretty surprised at what you're getting for around 150, 55, 160 bucks, considering that you're getting some resinoid, galbanum resinoid, if I'm not mistaken, those citruses and a lot of that vetiver. A pretty rich and concentrated base fragrance, and the presentation on this is pretty dang nice as well. It's simple, slightly old school, but it's done very refined as well. Nothing too complex. It's got this tape around the outside of the bottle, and it all has the embossed Jacques Fath. On the bottom, you have some engravements, and the cap is where this one shines the most. It's actually on there pretty snug, but it's magnetized. Very heavy Chanel quality magnet. And on the top of the cap is also embossed. This fragrance moved me enough to make this full-length video because of the fact that I really fell in love with this one. Jacques Fath's Vetiver Gris has to be one of my most enjoyed vetiver-based fragrances to date in my collection. So for whatever it's worth, I just recently started diving into a lot more vetiver-based fragrances. While I don't really care too much from Acre Noir, the original, the El Extreme, the Sport, I do enjoy Vetiver Eau Extreme by Terre d'Hermès. I enjoy that one as well, but this one for sure in my collection has to be the best one to date. Also, the last thing I kind of wanted to end this with is I got a slight hint or a reminder of something like Valentino Uomo, specifically, just very specifically, that hazelnut vibe. So it's like you stripped that similar hazelnut accord and you placed it in a citrus and vetiver based fragrance. Fantastic fragrance, much higher end than something from Valentino. Quality ingredients, overall, this one is a 10 out of 10. Performance, scent profile, I love this stuff. Very rooty and earthy though. You have to enjoy the note of vetiver, something green and earthy fragrance. Definitively masculine as well, so ladies, you might not be able to pull that one off, but hey, if you can, you can. Who am I to say that you can't? Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button. Till the next one, peace.